Sorry, Jodie has also put, how can you deal with people who already decided on something before you've even started speaking?
That's called the art of persuasion, Jodie. And when does persuasion become manipulation? Very good question, but it's the art of persuasion, right? So the first question that you ask yourself in that situation is somebody worth persuading? Or are they not? Right? Because persuading is quite a difficult exercise in communication. So the first question that you should ask yourself, Jodie, is that person worth persuading?
Yeah, so would that be, just to put that in context? So I'm always talking, you know, when people are looking for instance, a rent to rent deal, kind of, I have a bit of a view that if the landlord doesn't have any sort of problems and he's always had great tenants, they've always worked really well for him, it more than likely is going to be a no, because it's such a huge thing to, as you say, persuade them that something that they're not used to is going to be a benefit of them. Whereas if we go back to the chat we were talking about earlier, where, you know, he'd had lots of great tenants. However, the last tenant had been so extreme and so horrific that he then had a problem that if you can solve as a, you know, if as a rental person, then that, I suppose, gives you something to work on. So I suppose it's always knowing, like you mentioned, whether there is a problem to solve, so to speak.
There's an old adage in business is you can't help people who are rich, fat and happy. So don't try and help the rich, fat and happy. They're already rich, fat and happy, right? And if they are, you've got very little you can bring to their life, right? So you're really looking for people who have got a problem to solve. I mean, that's the basis of business, isn't it? We tend to buy things that make our life easier, right? And if you're selling something, whether it's a concept or whether it's a physical item that makes somebody's life easier, all you have to do is explain that to them. But they have to have that the problem in the first place. But a lot of that is about, so 101, if you like, of using this example of going to buy a property, right? I would say that a good 90% of people start that from the wrong place. They see something advertised, it sparks a small interest in them, and then they go to see it. And then they're looking for the vendor or the agent to tell them everything they need to know. And they're really looking for the vendor and the agent to sell them something. Because if you think about the vast majority of people's life who haven't had a life in business, they've been sold to their whole life.
Yeah.
When they go to the shop, they get sold to. Subliminally, but they get sold to. When they go buy a car, they get sold to. When they, go to buy furniture, they get sold to. When they go to buy a holiday, they get sold to. So they take this mindset of this vendor should be and this agent should be selling me this property. And actually, if you want to buy properties at the right price, the right properties that suit you, it's not their job to sell. It's your job to buy. In fact, somebody once asked me at a party once what I did in property. And I didn't want to get into a long debate about it and discussion. And I said, I buy things that aren't for sale for amounts of money people don't want to take.
Do you want to repeat that?
Yeah, I buy things that are not for sale for amounts of money people don't want to take. So I don't tend to buy properties, and never have in my 30 years career, that's on Rightmove. In fact, I think Rightmove's the wrong move. But because what I do is I build rapport with people. And I convince people that I'm the right person to sell to. And equally, Emma, if I come to buy your home or one of your commercial properties or whatever, and we struck up a conversation and something in that conversation told me that I wasn't the right person, I would say, thank you, Emma, I think there's a better buyer than me. Now, there's an original concept for people, isn't it? I think there's a better buyer than me of this property. I only want to do a deal with people for whom I'm the right person to do a deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose that goes back to that kind of win-win scenario where inherently everyone has got to benefit in that deal, communication. If if one person's going to be walking away feeling like they've been done over, it's never going to be a great deal and it's not going to be a success.
Well, I think, what you've got to remember about property is where it differs from a lot of other transactions, right, is that it takes a long time to do a property deal. So you might convince somebody for 5 minutes, but will you convince them for 5 months?
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm selling you a widget, look, great widget. You want to buy my widget? Yes, I do, Paul. There you go. And then you can have buyer's regret afterwards. And at best in this country, you've got 30 days cover, right? Property deals, how long did the last property deal take between the first time you met the person and you actually owned the property? 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, at least, quite often. Yeah.
And you need to carry that person with you for that 4 or 5 months. So, we're rapidly running out of time, but the way I deal with people is entirely different and alien to the way most people deal with people. So if I was coming to you and we built up rapport and I listened to you and I didn't ask you about your property because that's my job. I didn't ask you to sell me your property because that's not your job. You're not a salesperson. I just asked you about you and we built rapport. I would say to you, look, here's where we are, Emma. I'm the right guy to buy your property. I think you know that. This is the right property to sell to me. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be buying it. It's an amount of money. It's a deal that we can both live with, right? What's a great negotiation, Emma? A great negotiation is when both people go away unhappy.
I've not heard that one.
Because if you think about it, Emma, if you were entirely happy, it wouldn't be a negotiation. You would have got 100% of what you want. Yes? Yeah. And if I got 100% of what I want, you wouldn't be happy, would you?
No, you're right.
Right. So we both get a little bit of what we want. So to a certain extent, we go away happy and unhappy. Right. A great negotiation, both people go away unhappy. But we're happy in our unhappiness with each other. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. The lawyers are now going to get involved and they're going to make this thing very complicated and drag it out. And I am going to offer you, and I would like the same from you, every time I receive an email from my solicitor, I'm going to copy you into it. I want a completely open and above board transaction between us. I don't want my solicitor saying something to me that you don't know about. I don't want your solicitor saying something to you that I don't know about. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of my money. And partly I'm doing that because I like your property, Emma. And partly I'm doing that because I like you. And I hope you're taking a whole bunch of my money because you want to sell your property. And I'm hoping you're taking that whole bunch of money from me because you want to deal with me. So see these other people that we need. They're not the deal. Me and you are, Emma. We're the deal.
Wow. Do you do that then?
Every time.
God, I would never have thought of doing that. That's very powerful, isn't it?
I tell you what you find as well. You find lying solicitors because you'll get an email that says, we haven't received this document from the other side.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I've got an email that I send you that said, the solicitor sent that document on Monday and your solicitor's lying to you. And I'll tell you what happens when I do that, Emma, right? The person's relationship with the solicitor breaks down because solicitors lie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's happened to us recently. Our solicitor lied to us and we had to get in contact with the other solicitor. And it was confirmed that he'd lied, not by a week, but by, like 6 weeks.
So what happens in a situation like that is you lose faith in your solicitor.
Yeah.
But because I'm being transparent with you, who do you have faith in?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I'm gonna end on this, right? In property, the system, solicitors, agents, the whole system is built in a way that they make you and me, as the vendor and the buyer, feel like we're in competition.
Yeah.
Or confrontation, not negotiation.
Yeah, that's very powerful.
So I don't want to be, if I come to buy your house, Emma, and you want to be in confrontation with me, I do confrontation in court. I've got some of the best lawyers in the United Kingdom. Try saying something wrong about me. You'll discover very quickly what confrontation looks like.
Yeah.
But I didn't come to your house to do confrontation. The solicitors want it to be confrontation, they get paid more. The agents want it to be confrontation, they get paid more. I want to negotiate with you. And negotiation is where we both get our best outcome.
Yeah. Amazing.
See, one of the skills that I had and one of the skills that I have is negotiation skills, in the same way as a professional negotiator that you would send in to get hostages, hostage negotiation.
Yeah.
Now, think about this, right? As a hostage negotiator, and you're the terrorist, right? And you've got 100 hostages. Do I want to negotiate that we get 50 hostages alive and 50 hostages dead?
No.
Do I want to negotiate that we get 100 hostages alive, but we killed you?
Maybe.
I don't. Because that's not the best outcome for a hostage negotiator. A hostage negotiator really wants everybody to come out alive.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, you might serve some time, but that's better than being dead.
Yeah.
And as a hostage negotiator, I would say to you, look, we've got choices here. But the ideal choice is nobody dies here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In a negotiation, a property negotiation, you know the best outcome? We both get what we need. And none of us get exactly what we want.